you very much. I'll call to order the Whatcom Transportation Authority Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, December 11th, 2025. Vicki, can we please start with roll call?
Yes. Do we have Todd Donovan online?
Yeah.
It's a little hard for me to see. So
Here, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we hear you. Thank you. All right. Hawkinson.
Here.
Fortice.
Here.
Lautenbach.
Here.
And I don't see board member Lilyquist just yet.
Right here.
That's all right. I didn't see you walk in. I'm sorry. I'm a little too focused here in the wrong spot. Lund, Mayor Lund.
Here.
Thank you. Stewart.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Darwin.
Present.
And do we have executives to do online? It looks like he is absent. Right. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Item C, we're gonna do some public comment. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes on a topic relevant to WTA other than the fare rates, as the public comment period for that matter has closed on December 5th. So if you have public comment on anything other than the fare rates, we'll start online. If you're online, please unmute and address the board. Seeing none, do we have anyone in person? I can't tell because you're very tiny on the screen.
Mike will deal with it. There, we have two hands that, oh, you did raise your hand back? Did you? Okay. We have one person, again, according to our rules, comment not directly on the fare increase.
Yes.
Sir.
All right. So for the record, my name is Ethan Marquez. I'm a student and resident here in Bellingham. I wanted to first start by addressing some of the things that I came to this meeting for, which one of them is specifically regarding the Western Bus Pass. Currently, negotiation process have ceased and there's been issues with that. I would like to see that continue, and I'd also like to see it being played fairly between Western and WTA admin. As a student, the bus pass means a lot to members of the community here. And without it, ridership is going to significantly decrease, if not entirely go away, because students having to go out and get their own bus pass or potentially have to pay out of pocket for everything is going to have a dramatic effect on people being able to ride the bus. So I would request that negotiations continue, as well as the current rate that Western's paying continue to be the case for bus passes. So I'll end my comment.
Thank you, Ethan. You want me to ask for more, Ellie?
Yes, please. Thanks.
Anybody else wish to provide public comment on issues other than the fare increase? Please go ahead.
I would also like to reiterate the importance of the student bus passes. Being another student at Western, we rely a lot financially on these bus passes. We can't afford school and rent and groceries and medical bills and all of this stuff on top of these bus passes. Going from what we pay per quarter, which is about like $24 to $30 per school quarter for the transportation fee, to going up to $30 a month if every student were to pay for the unlimited passes. I don't know hardly any students that can afford that. And so again, it would significantly decrease ridership. And I know I would stop riding the bus entirely because I can't afford that. I don't know any students that can.
Thank you. It looks like we have someone online. Let's take them real quick. Chris, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you, Ali. Hi, Western students, also Western students. I'm Chris Roselli. I'm the Director of Community Relations at Western. And something I did just want to let everyone know is that we have meetings scheduled with the leadership, between the leadership at Western and with WTA's leadership to continue this conversation, including negotiations as to some sort of agreement that we can figure out to make sure that we can continue proper ridership for students. So do just want to let you know that that is in the works, and we're going to continue to work towards that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck on finals, students.
Okay, do we have anyone else in person?
No, I don't see anyone.
All right, thank you so much, and thanks for the assist, Michael. Item D, board action. D1, approval of resolution 364-25, establishing an official place of business and regular meeting schedule for 2026. Les.
Yes, this is just a housekeeping measure we do every year, setting our meetings for next year. Just highlight that we are continuing the quarterly workshops on there that are designated by asterisks on there. Any questions?
How about a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. D2, approval of annual purchase orders over 150,000 for 2026. Miranda.
Ask me to take that one, Ally. Miranda's out today.
Oh, gotcha.
This is also just a housekeeping item, asking the board of directors to authorize the general manager to expend funds on the listed contracts and invoices that we'll be expecting in 2026. They're all over 150,000.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. All right, thank you. Moving right along. D3, consideration of approval of order for 15 fixed route hybrid buses from Gillig.
Good morning. I'll be presenting this one. In the interest of time, I'm just gonna not read the entire memo, but this item is being added to the agenda short notice on based on information from the manufacturer that any delay in order placement will have a compounding effect in production timeline. So we're trying to get our order in since we have a timeline advantage. We started our quote sooner in the year. We want to get our order placed as soon as possible so we can get those production slots. So we're just requesting approval for that purchase now.
All right. Discussion? Questions?
Ally?
Yes.
I just want to comment for the public's benefit that these hybrid buses will also be running on fuel. So from a fuel perspective, they're net zero, although they have other impacts just by existing as buses. And, that's all.
Thank you.
Alan, I'll just move that we approve this.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
D4, consideration of approval of fare rates and rules. Audra.
Thank you.
Actually, I'll just lay the foundation for this one. First off, I want to thank the board members who are experiencing flood issues right now, who are still giving your time to be here. Appreciate that. Please know our thoughts are with you and your families and friends. But thank you for being here and making time. Wanted to just kind of remind folks of where we've been and why we're here. I think the starting place is there's a shared goal that everybody has that we've heard throughout all of this, and that's that WTA service is valued and try to keep it. The issue then becomes who's going to pay for it, how does it get paid for? And that's the problem set that we're trying to look at, because the gap between operating expenses and operating revenues is growing for a variety of reasons that I think everybody's familiar with. As one public comment said, medical, groceries, insurance, everything is going up, and we feel that effect as well. In fact, WTA hasn't raised their base fare since 2008. If you do some research, you'll find that the purchasing power of that $1 is down somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 cents now. So that means 40 cents of every dollar has to be covered somehow through WTA. We've been doing that through spending reserves and trying to figure this out. There's really only two sides to the equation to solve the operating gap between expenses and revenues, and that's either raise revenue or lower expenses. And so in August, we spent a significant time, we meaning the board and staff, at a work session talking that through. I'll talk a little bit about that on the expense side and revenue side. And what the conclusion was, they put together a proposal to raise fares to try to help on the revenue side of that. And that's what's under consideration now. And that the proposal should be a simplified policy that is consistent across category types and generates the revenue to try to help offset the gap and help us to continue what everybody values, and our goal is to keep that service going. So we looked at the expense side. Our 2026 budget reduces discretionary spending by close to 20%. To try to get to that. One of the things that our exercises showed us that the only way to make significant expense reductions is through service, and we don't want to do that. So we're trying to find as many ways as possible to keep from doing that. As we talked about during that is we're trying to meet the financial goal of being financially sustainable as an organization into the future to keep that service going, and also try to do it in a way that doesn't require us to constantly be chasing our tail as the economy goes up and down. And we're constantly reacting to that. We're going to find ourselves always behind the eight ball. If we're cutting service and then trying to bring it back as things allow, we're always going to be behind the eight ball. And so what are ways to try to do that? So looking at discretionary expenses, like I said, cutting close to 20% on that side. Looked at the revenue side. We just don't have a lot of levers to pull on that revenue side. We tried to think creatively, drew down 53 of our federal, some of the federal funds that go towards buses, draw that down so that we can generate the interest income off of that as opposed to it sitting somewhere else. To try to help with that. We took advantage of one-time green tax credits, but there's just not a lot of levers on the revenue side for us to pull, other than the ones we did, and then the recommended fare as well on a higher user fee. We've examined and looked at things we've heard through the public comments. As you know, we've had extensive public comments since September, including public meetings, tabling, including in Western up and during the September-October timeframe. Yes, that is true. And we've been working hard at that. And so what we found is we have no authority to do property tax. We can't tax parking to pay for it. We can't raise car tabs. The only thing that WTA is allowed is sales tax, and we can't increase that as an organization. We can ask the county council to place that on the ballot for the voters to approve, but that is not within our lever to pull. So that brings us back to we're at a deficit. We have purchasing power is dropping. How are we going to fill that to continue our ultimate goal that we heard loud and clear from people is keep service. So we're looking at that. And bottom line is none of us like to pay more. I don't like to pay more. I know WTA isn't thrilled about all the expenses that we have to pay as well. That takes away that we have to figure it out. But we have to, and we have to figure that out because expenses are rising, and we can't say no. We're not going to buy renewable diesel for our fuel. No, we're not going to pay medical fees. No, we're not going to do. I mean, we have to do these things. And the risk is, because there's only two sides to that equation, if the revenue doesn't go up, you got to cut the expenses. And that's where we're at. We've heard the concerns of people and share those concerns about the least of us that can't afford to pay. Audra can give you a little bit of an overview of what we're doing to mitigate that. And also on the gold cards, and from a financial sustainability standpoint of those gold cards mean free paratransit rides, which are $95+ a ride that are free, that just for financial sustainability, without the revenue sources, just can't do it. I know it's not popular. These decisions are never popular, never fun. But we owe a fiduciary duty to this organization and to this community to try to run the best service that we can. And we have to look out into the future to be able to do this. If we don't do this, there's going to be reactionary emergency measures that happen to organizations, and then they're not well thought out, not done correctly, and you're always chasing your tail. And we're trying to meet that fiduciary duty and be proactive and trying to take steps now that prevent us from getting to that point. So with that stage and my thoughts, I'll turn over to Audra on how we're trying to mitigate. It does affect most affordability.
So when we were talking about when the board decided for us to look at fare increases, there were three proposals, and they chose kind of the middle range. And we were looking at what we could do to preserve equity as much as possible. They chose that middle frame, and so we looked at how can we fill the gap with the people who are going to have trouble affording this fare. We do have our 6-ride ticket program, 50,000 tickets a year, but that's not a long-term permanent solution. Those 50,000 6-ride tickets we provide to about a little over 100 social and health agencies, and those are to help people get to more permanent assistance. So far this year, 40% of the reduced fare monthly passes have been paid for by social and health agencies. We have 12 partners that load passes for people, and a lot of the situations that I hear are people who could be helped by hooking into services. A little bit about gold cards. So the decision was made to have, it's kind of a rare decision. This has been probably 15 years ago for gold card rides for 75 and older to be free. And the thought was that it wouldn't be much of an impact to have these riders ride on fixed route buses where they're going anyway. But because of ADA laws, what you do on fixed route, you have to do on paratransit. And so what has ended up happening is that a third of our rides and growing on paratransit are completely free. And at $96 a ride with a growing aging population, growing paratransit rides, every one of those rides takes a driver and fuel and a bus. And with those rides growing and growing, we're not going to be able to keep doing the kind of service we're doing with the increases that are happening, with a third and growing of those being completely free. And so we kind of had to look at equity across our entire system to try to make it more sustainable.
Thank you. Ellie, that's all staff has.
Great discussion.
We have a
Question?
motion.
I'll move that we move ahead with the fare increase to get it on the table for discussion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? Kim, and then Todd.
One small change that I think would be helpful is right now, as my understanding is that the daily cap is set at $6 for all fare payers. I'd like to make a motion for the board to consider a daily reduced fare cap of $3. And so for our most frequent riders, it doesn't matter. The $30 would still be the monthly ceiling, but for less frequent reduced fare riders, a $3 daily fare cap would enable 10 rides before they hit that ceiling, the monthly ceiling, and it could make a difference for less frequent reduced fare riderships.
Second.
Just to clarify, that's an amendment to the motion.
Right.
Yes, to the fare increase. Yeah.
If I could just give a little background on kind of what the downstream effects of that would look like. So daily and, well, fare caps in general are not a super common thing. So about 20% of the transit agencies in the US have fare caps, monthly fare caps, but a daily and a monthly fare cap is particularly unusual, but we find them in communities that value equity. And so that's something that we looked at. If there is a $3 reduced fare cap, so all of our paratransit riders are also reduced, it means that a paratransit rider would fare cap after one ride. And we don't know what the downstream effects are going to be if someone is fare capping after just one ride. And the concern is that it is going to not handle the piece of trying to keep sustainability in paratransit. Whether somebody fare caps in 5 days or 10 days, it would help for that day. But it is, if we're looking at increasing revenue, it's not a model that is going to work toward that, and really could work to undo what we're trying to do with preserving capacity. It could make it to where once you fare cap at $3, you ride many, many times that day. And so the elasticity of what our paratransit rides look like in a day could easily get unmanageable for our operations.
Todd?
I was going to speak about the main motion, so I think we're on an amendment right now. So come back to me when we dispose of the amendment.
Okay. Kim?
Wait, Ally?
Yes.
Kim, which before you decide.
Go ahead, Michael.
Who had their hand up first?
So paratransit is simply unaffordable regardless. As was just indicated, these rides are very expensive. They're enormous. Well, everything we do is quote unquote a money loser. They are so burdensome and unsustainable already that I think this small change, which doesn't affect every paratransit rider, but only those who are low income qualified, which is probably a lot of them, half of them or more. I don't know how many. I don't think this is going to have a huge budget impact, but I think that in terms of equity, it'll have a large effect. I agree with the staff's comment. This makes our financial position worse. I think our problem is much bigger than this. And this is why I've for years really focused on the fact that running a paratransit service is what is the most difficult thing for us to do. It's required by law. There's no way around it. It's very expensive. It is the tail that's wagging the dog. So staff is right, but I think in terms of our budget problem, this doesn't actually make it that much worse, and it certainly doesn't cure it. We need a different cure to fix that paratransit issue. So I'm supportive of the motion because it does have equity impacts.
The amendment. The amendment. Yeah. Okay.
Kim, go ahead.
Can I ask staff to clarify the population who is eligible for paratransit services that is reduced? I thought I just heard everyone, but I've heard staff previously say we have many paratransit riders who would not be reduced fare. So can you help clarify that for me?
Sure. So reduced is students, all paratransit, 65 and older, Medicaid, and disability and income eligible. Those are all of our reduced categories. So everyone who's on paratransit would also be eligible for reduced on fixed routes.
Even if they have high income.
That could happen, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just for clarity, we can do the fare cap as the amendment asks, right, from a technical standpoint.
If we did $3 for all reduced on. One other thing that we can do, which we haven't really talked about a lot, is
Sorry, yes.
yes,
Okay.
we could do that. is what we have tried to do is a shared fare cap, so that whether you ride on fixed route or whether you ride on paratransit, you're working toward that $30 a month. If you fare cap at $3 a day, you're not incentivized to ride fixed route. I mean, we ultimately would like people who can take fixed route rides to take those. Our concern is that, as we've seen with our partners in Skagit to the south, that they've had double-digit increases in paratransit every year. They doubled their monthly fare cap and still saw a 6% increase. And so we're trying to look at what we can do to keep providing the level of service that we are. And even though it's not a huge revenue increase, we're kind of on the other side of that, which is preserving capacity.
So from a factual standpoint on the amendment, we can do it. The risk is that there's some financial aspect of it, and then the shared cap, how it affects which mode people ride. Those are the risks. Okay. Thank you. So it's really a policy decision.
I think there's the financial piece of it, but then there's also the pretty big possibility that our paratransit rides are going to increase at a level that we just are not able to sustain with what we currently have.
Right. I'm just trying for the board's help, what's the policy risk of doing it, and that helps.
Skip.
Audra, if that were to happen and our paratransit is affected, what would that look like?
That would look like we don't have enough drivers and buses to complete all of the rides that are trying to be booked. If somebody's fare capping after one ride, I think we can expect that our paratransit is going to increase more than it even is now.
And is that something that we can sustain?
We're at capacity now, so no.
Oh.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to speak against the amendment. I just think that we have to come to grips with these high cost services, and we have to pass on at least some of the cost to the general public. And I know it's a burden for some, but I think there are passes available through organizations that the really needy can get passes to satisfy that piece, or we can come up with a plan to maybe have more of those. But to make it carte blanche across the whole thing, $3 max, I think is going to cause us more unintended consequences than we understand today.
I agree. Further discussion on the amendment? All right. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand and and speak while we're voting, just so that Vicky can get a good count. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
And all opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that 3 opposed?
No.
3 opposed online.
Yeah,
Oh.
Skip.
Aye.
I saw 4 opposed online.
Oh, I can't see everyone then.
I
Sorry.
saw Jen and Mary Lou and myself and you.
Oh, sorry, you disappeared for me. Yes, 4 online. Thank you, Scott. This is hard, virtual.
5 opposed, so that leaves 4.
According to Vicky, motion's failed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Okay, going back to the main motion. Todd?
Okay, thanks. I will speak against the main motion and fare increase, and I think the board has another couple revenue levers, and we've been afraid to talk about the tax going to the voters. We can do that for the sales tax increment, which can, even if you just raise it 0.1 or 0.2, could bring in substantial revenue and still be in the medium of what other agencies have. The city of Bellingham's shown a willingness to to approve that. We can go to Western and try to get back to the level of revenue we were getting from them. We were getting about 1.2 million a year. And the voters, the students there have shown willingness to vote and pay for that. But I think the fact that we don't talk about this is put the staff into the position where that this is the only lever that they can look at. And I think the willingness to pay is there among the people who most use these services, and I think we should pursue that. I won't be around to do that. It's my last meeting, but I encourage the board to look at that. And also, it's closely linked to the ability to negotiate a contract with Western. If we raise the fares now, that's going to be baked into the negotiations as a starting point. So I'm against the proposal.
Thanks, Todd. Dan?
Yeah. So, I know I can't vote on this measure, but I do speak in disapproval of it. The biggest thing to me is we held all of our public comments, and it is strongly against it. So when we talk about we are an agency that listens to our public and we're here for the public good, and then we don't listen to the public and try to say, like, is there another way? And I think that was one of the biggest things that I took away from the public comment period was, is there another way? And for staff and for us as a board to come back and say, oh, no, there's not, when there were specific levers, and Todd just talked about one of them that could be a way that we could go, and for us to just not look at that, I don't think is right. And I think that we should listen to what our public is telling us to do. Another thing that really struck me was somebody said, we're here for the public good. That's what we're here for. So if we can find a way to do that, then we should do that. And this should be the very last thing that we look at. There are other ways. We heard them. And so that's what I would like to see. I would like to see us pursue different ways, and to look at all of those before we get to this. As I've heard from, many of my, operators out in the field who drive these paratransit routes, like, all of these riders are scared of what's going to happen for them. And it's, and hearing even in the public comment period, they're scared of what's going to go on. We all know what's going on with the economy and how things are. And so can we find another way? Um, you know, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Jen?
Sorry, I had to find my unmute button. I think it's very easy to say, let's raise taxes. Let's put an additional sales tax on. But who's going to be paying those sales tax anyway is, low income people on their groceries and things of that nature. It's not just magic money that's going to appear if we add on sales tax. City governments are looking at, we have to raise fees, almost annually just to keep up with water and sewer costs and keep our police forces going and things like that. Asking the users to pay for the service they are getting is not a bad thing. And I would heartily oppose looking at a sales tax at this point, because it, for us out in Everson and Nooksack and Sumas who are getting a small bit of service, to ask us to pay more to subsidize riders is not where I would go at this point. So I support the original motion.
Thanks, Jen. Further comment? Michael?
Yeah, I'm struggling with this, in part because, in an ideal world, I think we'd go to zero fare. In an ideal world, we'd have a financially sustainable model, which would, account for the fact that paratransit is so expensive. I've spun ideas and maybe one day they will be available to us, but they're not right now, with regard to paratransit. And so we're stuck with a rate limiting factor, which is sales tax. WTA service level is the size of sales tax. Sales tax goes up, we can afford to grow. Sales tax revenue goes down or keep pace with inflation. We can stay where we are, or we have to cut services. The size of service is governed by sales tax. We live or die by sales tax. And right now, sales tax revenue has been flat. It's affecting all jurisdictions who have a sales tax component, like the city, and is really affecting WTA, which is why we're in this operational budget crisis. Fares are a small, but at this point, essential and necessary component. And I'm conflicted about raising fares because of the impacts. I really am on the fence here because I want to go in one direction and I'm getting forced to go in another direction. We did not reach for sales tax, and I'm trying to figure out in my own mind whether we should have tried to reach for sales tax. Problem with sales tax is even though it exempts food and medicine and rent, it is still an impact which is mostly regressive. It affects the exact same people who are trying to pay their fares. I don't think it's the best kind of tax. I know it's not the best kind of tax. If you're an economist, you know it's a terrible tax. It's a tax whose unintended effect is to reduce consumption when you actually don't want to reduce consumption. I'm talking out loud because I really am truly conflicted with this. I supported the amendment because I'm looking for ways to buffer the impacts on the lowest income people. So I do want to talk briefly about Western, even though it's not directly linked. It would be a complete travesty if Western students didn't continue to be able to pay through a fee which the students created, promoted, brought into existence, and has worked successfully. Many of the impacts on the people in the room will be reduced or go away if that contract, when that contract is renewed. And I'm trying to decide if that's enough for me. If we have the reduced fare for people who are low income and other reduced fare things, if Western students are indeed provided with transportation through their fee, which means they can buy in bulk and they get a better rate. So fixed rare routes are already heavily subsidized by sales tax, and with a negotiated contract, Western students get a discount on the discount, and that's fair and that's good.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I think I just decided I'm going to vote yes, very regretfully.
Thanks, Michael. Scott?
Yeah, I'll speak in favor of the motion. I guess in terms of sales tax and fare increases, I've been at this for 16 years. We tried a sales tax increase back in 2012, I think it was, or 2011, and that did not pass. And just as much as we were afraid to talk about sales tax, we're afraid to talk about fare increase. And so finally we bit the bullet and we're going to talk about fare increase, and we have a proposal on the table that actually increases the fare for the first time since I think 2008. And I think I think it would be a tough sell to citizens in the county that we would ask for a sales tax increase when we've left fares flat for that many years. I just think it's our fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers to raise fares at this point.
Thank you, Scott. Further discussion? All right. I am also going to vote in favor. I think that for a long time, we've asked people who don't ride the bus to help pay for people who do ride the bus. And at $9 a ride for regular routes, that's asking people who may not ride the bus. I'm not saying people who ride the bus aren't taxpayers. Clearly you are. But there is a large population that we've heard from a lot in the past few years, that don't believe that WTA should get as much sales tax revenue as we do. And those voices are also important and valid because they're not riding the bus. I think asking people to pay a little bit bigger portion of the ride that they're taking makes sense. I think it brings more value to what we do. Um, I think that if we have to start shutting down routes and decreasing accessibility, that's going to hurt the aging population more. It's going to hurt people with disabilities more. It's going to hurt the outlying communities more. I know that an increase seems impossible for some, and it is. And that's why I think we have the programs that we have, so that those people will still be able to get on the bus. Um, yeah, I also struggle with this, but I would rather see this than have to have to shut down. I mean, we have to keep going. We have to. So, any further comments or questions?
20 in the room.
Skip?
I've been listening to everyone here. My colleague to the left here, the students here. And I came out of a world, public education, where a large portion of what we had to do was based on a voted upon levy. And if you were in a situation where your constituency was in what we call a property poor area, meaning there's no industry, there's no big pieces that can generate that levy money, you were at a disadvantage, and you really had to look at, can this really pass? And when I hear people saying the sales tax increase, and then I hear there's a discrepancy between the city and what the county will support. And the people I hear about raising the sales tax, a lot of those people are based on what the city of Bellingham is facing, not what the rest of the county is facing. And there has to be some kind of balance in that funding source. Another thing that bothers me, and I'm just going to say it this way because I used to make my living negotiating contracts. And when I hear one side that is putting information out that says the other side does not want to negotiate, that bothers me. That bothers me a lot because this agency has never, ever said we don't want to renegotiate the contract with Western Washington. Never said that. And we have until next September to get a settlement on it. Now, what that's going to look like at that time, does the process involve all of the affected people on the student side that need to sit down and help with that negotiation process? I don't know, but it made me angry that I saw communications Monday night that said that the WTA is not going to negotiate a new contract. And to me, that is disingenuous. And for things like that, and for things like running a sales tax levy and taking into account that half of our constituency may not support that. That means we got to find another way to raise revenue that's not so onerous, but is something that since, what'd you say, 2008, that we need to figure that piece out. Now, running a sales tax thing, we got to get the county to okay it. We got to have a campaign committee that can go out and sell it. How long is that going to take? Those are all things that need to be considered. It's not just raise the sales tax. Now, so to me, generally speaking, once the Western contract gets renegotiated to whatever cost level that is, and all these other things that are not so onerous, that's something maybe that we can support and afford, because in the long run, it's going to pay dividends. And then down the road, if we think about raising the sales tax going from 0.7 to 0.9, which would generate maybe 13 million or a little more over the long haul, that's something that we could take the long view on. But right now, we need to deal with this and what the immediate effect is, so that we're not going in the hole and reducing services. And that's what's guiding my vote to say we need to pursue this. Negotiations with Western, looking down the road at maybe raising the sales tax at some point, but taking the time to convince people that that's what needs to happen. And this is kind of a solution that is going to keep us from reducing our what the word I'm thinking of, service, and reducing our rainy day fund just in case of an emergency that may or may not happen. So I'm going to vote in favor of this on that basis. So
Thank you. Thank you, Skip. All right, board members, further discussion? Mary Lou? Oh, you're muted, Mary Lou.
Again, I agree with what is being said. I mean, we certainly don't want to, we've listened to everybody in the community, and we feel the concerns that they have with everything that's going up. But we haven't increased our fares since 2008, and everything else has gone up. And so I think we have to be a responsible organization and make sure we are there for the people in the future. And I agree, let's try and find some of these other means to help out the people that really, really cannot afford it. And yes, let us make sure that we continue negotiations with Western Washington. And so therefore, again, with a heavy heart, I do think we should pass this fare increase.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Michael?
Yeah, just could staff please remind me what percentage of our riders currently use bus passes as opposed to cash? And the reason I'm asking is that if I understand it, fare capping only works if you're using a pass. Otherwise, you have no way of giving you the cap that you deserve. So what percentage of people currently use passes, and presumably if people figure this out, more might use the passes, because then they would benefit from fare capping.
It's down to about 20%, and it's one of the pieces of this plan is to help more and more people get off of cash.
20% pay cash, 80% would benefit from the fare capping, maybe more if they could shift.
Well, we're hoping that even more will benefit from fare capping once we get the new readers on the buses, because our old readers are end of life and the new readers take any kind of bank card or tap card. So we're hoping that will help mitigate some. We're looking at a few other things that we think are going to help get that cash percentage down to under 10%. That's the goal.
Who do we think is still paying cash?
They're short fares, so people who don't have the full dollar, and they are people who maybe are traveling and are not able to like download the app real quick or go and buy an UMO card. And then we see a lot on the people's routes, the 231 and 232. So we're hoping by getting some more resellers, potentially some ticket vending machines, and that we'll be able to convince people between that and bank cards to move off of cash. It's expensive for us to collect it, and a lot of people would not like to collect fare. So we're really hoping to get that 20% down to under 10. And we hope that they'll realize how beneficial fare capping is, and that will also be a push.
So assuming that Western students are on a pass and their expenses are capped, and most people are on some form of a pass, and so they're capped. And then again, you've talked about the 50,006 free rides that we give out to social service agencies for people who have low or no income. And so we buffer and protect there. Again, I'm trying to justify to myself how we're not having disproportionate impacts on the people we don't want to impact. One of the purposes behind WTA is we have defined it for ourselves as we serve priority populations. People who need to rely upon transit, who are not, who cannot or do not have a car, and this is their way of getting around. And that is correlated also with lower income or disabled or senior or youth. And so if that is our priority population, I want to make sure that I'd like to assure myself that we have fair mechanisms which don't work too counteractive to our other goal. And fare capping is the thing. Fare capping and passes for Western students are two of the things which comfort me in an uncomfortable situation.
All right. Todd?
I gotta get going, so I just want to, well, Michael keeps talking himself into the vote. Make sure my no vote gets recorded if I lose a signal on the way down.
Okay.
Later.
Are we ready to vote, you guys?
I've got another question.
Okay.
From what my colleague here says, will the basis of this is not to disproportionately affect of the population that you are talking about.
Priority populations.
Right. This is the best we can do at this time to minimize that, correct?
Correct. It doesn't disproportionately affect any one population. That's true.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Are we ready? All right. All those in favor, I'll ask you again to raise your hand and say aye. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. And those opposed?
Opposed.
Allie, can you help me with the Zoom count? I can't see it well enough to get a count.
Maybe could we just do a roll?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay, Donovan.
He's a no.
He was a no. He's a no.
Okay, Hawkinson.
Donovan's a no.
Yes.
All right, Cortez.
Yes.
Lautenbach.
Yes.
Lilliquist.
Aye.
Lund.
No.
Stewart.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
All right. We have 2 noes and 6 yeses.
Correct. All right.
Great, thank you.
That passes. Thank you. All right. That was a big one. D5, approval of legislative agenda for 2026. Maureen.
Thank you. Apologies for not having it in front of me. Focused on the matter at hand. Let's see. So this is a standard item that comes before you every year, and it's just an opportunity for us to share the things that we will be speaking with our state and federal legislators about. As you can see, for Washington State, our main concerns will be continuing funding for what's called the Regional Mobility Grant and commute trip reduction funding. Currently, the Regional Mobility Grant helps our partners at Whatcom Smart Trips to encourage and incentivize people to make more of their trips by biking, walking, or riding the bus. And it is also a program that we have our eyes on to help us with funding for our rapid transit project. So that is a biggie. We'll also be seeking to preserve $5 million in funding that the state government has designated towards our expanding Bellingham Station project. And then we will be monitoring other legislation that we either have heard of or will hear of during the session that impacts transit. The one that we're specifically keeping our eye on is a potential bill focused on transit safety. And we want to make sure that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, because certainly there are many, many different types and sizes of agencies throughout the state. Make sure that what goes forward makes sense for us and our transit operations. On the federal side, we have a couple things we're continuing to push for in service transportation reauthorization. One of them is to change the way or the rules around purchasing property. And another one is to change the federal definition of transit-oriented development to open up certain pots of funding or financing for agencies our size that are looking to develop transit-oriented communities. And there are also several bills related to building affordable housing near transit, which is great, and we want to support, and also streamlining transit projects. I'll leave it at that. As you can see, we'll also be supporting our partners at the Washington State Transit Association and American Public Transportation Association. Any questions? Yeah.
Most of these funding opportunities that we're seeking are both federal and state. We largely devote those to capital projects. Or what percentage of these do we use for operations? For example, the Washington Move Ahead, what's it called? The
Move Ahead Washington?
Yeah, do we use how much this, if any of this money that we're trying to protect or obtain is operational as opposed to capital?
Yeah, well, the money that we're trying to protect or retain is the Move Ahead Washington funding is for capital projects. That's the $5 million for the expansion of Bellingham Station. And then the regional mobility grant we currently have is a pass-through to the Whatcom Council of Governments for smart trips. And that one is an operating grant.
But not WTA.
But not a WTA operating grant. And then if we were to use it for our rapid transit projects, that would be counted as well. So I don't have a percentage for you. Well, but yes, actually the vast majority, especially when you consider that it's COG spending the our current regional mobility.
That's right. Last thing I want to make sure I know what I'm doing.
Other questions?
Other questions, comments?
Does this need approval or something?
Yeah.
We've got a motion to approve.
I would move that we approve the legislative priorities for WTA, both at the state and federal level.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving the priorities, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you, everyone. Let's see. We're getting there. All right, consent agenda.
Move, we approve the consent agenda.
Great.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes as well. Okay, other business? Announcements?
Just want to wish everybody a happy holiday since this is the last meeting of the year.
Also, everybody stay safe out there. I know a lot of you are dealing with a lot of flooding in your communities, and I'll be out there as well. Kim?
I don't think it needs to be codified in a motion, but I just want to really ask WTA staff and encourage any Western staff that are listening to continue to negotiate in good faith for continuation of the bus pass program. And my aims for the outcome of that would be, hopefully increasing ridership, creating fair and consistent income for WTA, and continuing to endeavor to reduce barriers to ridership. So I just wanted to make that comment before we break.
Thanks, Kim. Anyone else? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ally.